The real problem with brands saying bae and on fleek isn't the slang, it's the targeting. Hey everybody, it's Baer with another J Today, where I give you a piece of my mind 3 minutes at a time. This is the second episode shot in the future home of Convince and Convert and J Today, my new home office. Since the last episode, the color of these walls is now slightly off-white, not white primer like it was the other day. So we are making progress. I think January 30th is the big move-in date here now. So here's the thing, there's been a lot of talk lately about brands using youth culture slang like bae, which is spelled B-A-E, and on fleek, which means on point, as in these J Today videos are very on fleek, and other jargon like that. Having two teenagers helps me in that regard. And there's been lots of, there's even a Twitter account which is called, brands saying bae, etc. There was an interesting article on Adweek about this the other day, and somebody from 360i, one of their directors, said that when brands use terms like bae and on fleek, it's a desperate attempt to connect with their audience and shows that they are failing to connect with their audience. I frankly do not think that is the case at all. I think that is a misplaced comment and incorrect. I personally don't have a problem with brands using youth culture slang and things like that, especially if those brands are targeted to those demographics. I think the biggest issue I have is brands using that kind of language on Twitter. See, here's what we don't think about in terms of Twitter very often. Twitter is such an incredibly blunt object. On Facebook now, with interest targeting, you could say something using the word bae in it and target it as an interest to whatever them kids like these days, or some other type of interest targeting, which would automatically send that message only to people who might actually know what bae is or be able to use the word bae in a sentence appropriately. The same thing on Google+. Instagram doesn't necessarily have targeting, but because it still skews younger, it sort of targets itself, and certainly the same thing is true of Snapchat. But Twitter demographically reaches a really broad cross-section of the population, but yet has no capabilities to do targeting by age, by demographics, by gender, by interest, unless you pay. So organically, Twitter is essentially the same thing as saying, I want to run a magazine ad, but you have to run that ad in all magazines, both like, Undertaker Today and Field and Stream. Or I want to run a television commercial, but it has to run on all television shows, both The Walking Dead and C-SPAN. Right? Twitter does not allow brands to target what they're saying in any way, shape, or form. So to me, if your brand wants to try and play cool and say bae and things like that, do it on Facebook, where you can actually use interest targeting to send that kind of messaging to appropriate people. The issue is not brands getting desperate. The issue is brands using Twitter this way because it doesn't yet allow you to go this way. It's one of the big flaws of Twitter right now. We don't talk about it enough. This week's Sprout Social Shoutout is for my company, Convince and Convert. After a 6-year hiatus, not even a hiatus, a 6-year gestation period, we actually launched our very first Twitter account for Convince and Convert. The handle is @Convince. I've had that handle for so long, literally 6 years, that many people thought we had to buy it, but actually I squatted on it a long time ago. So @Convince is where we're going to share all kinds of stuff on Twitter that we're doing that we think is interesting. So would love a follow from you @Convince on Twitter if you get a chance. As always, the J Today Show is brought to you by our friends at Sprout Social. It's what we use for social media, including the @Convince handle. And the show is brought to you by Candidio, who makes these videos a success. I just shoot these on my iPhone. They do the rest. They can do the same for you. Until tomorrow, from the future office, this is Baer. This has been J Today. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, do that too. Thanks.